recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Welcome to today's snippet. Today's snippet of the not so perfect couple. What do we want to talk about?
We want to talk about why
Nagging?
you said snippet.
Because I call it a snippet because we're probably only going to spend about 15 minutes with today's nugget. I can call it a nugget. How about that?
Yeah, I like that better than snippet, I think.
Welcome to today's nugget on Nugget of Wisdom.
Oh,
Well, a nugget of wisdom from Sam and my 2 cents. That's how I like to call
that doesn't seem right.
it.
I think this is also your nugget.
All right.
All right, so we're going to talk about
We're gonna
the self-help nagging.
self-help nagging,
self-nag.
personal growth nagging,
Personal growth nag.
in your relationship specifically. It's so funny because we recorded this whole podcast and went down a complete rabbit hole and then spent 20 minutes talking about it and decided to scrap their first podcast and come back and redo it because we just
Because
like
I got naggy.
Well, yeah. So I'll lay it out there for you. In a lot of the circles we move in, there's a lot of self-help that goes on. And I think a lot of that has to do with entrepreneurs in general, right? We're always trying to grow, learn more, level up. And as we start surrounding ourselves with other people that are doing that, it just becomes more and more and more. And you refer to it sometimes as self-help junkies.
Yeah.
I don't put myself in that category at all.
I put myself into that category.
I like to read the self-help or have somebody tell me about it, and then I can tell other people about it, but not do it myself. That's one of my favorite things to do.
So that brings us to our topic.
Anyway, yeah, in these circles that we move in, I see this time and time again in relationships where one of the spouses, typically
one of the partners.
So I'm in a men's mastermind, so most of the time it's men for me, but they don't feel like their spouse is growing at the same rate they are, or we're trying to grow at all, or on the same self-help train, and they allow that to frustrate them to the point where they're just not happy in their relationship. And so we want to kind of address that, and we have a good example of it. A couple of years ago, we were exposed to the Miracle Morning, and we both did it for a while. And then I hurt my knee, and then I hurt my shoulder, and I kind of fell out of my practice. And you were just telling me, so one of the conversation, the rabbit hole that we just went down was, I asked Sam specifically, why is it something that you wish I would do again? And tell me what you said.
I wish that you would do something like the Miracle Morning. I don't care if it's in the morning. I don't care if it's those specific rituals, but I guess I wish for you that you were doing something, some kind of ritual for yourself that kind of leveled you up, right? To take the good shit, let's just say shit, your good shit, and make your good shit better.
Mm-hmm.
So reading, I mean, I like the rituals laid out in the Miracle Morning because I think it's a really great place to start. But reading, doing some affirmations, exercising for sure. Meditation, I think. Exercise.
Those are the big ones.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
So
visualizations, I don't do as much of that, but I really enjoy my morning rituals.
Right.
And I feel that it's great time for me to get in touch with myself and sort of love myself and take myself to a new level where I feel like I'm doing things where I can achieve more. I can be a better me as I do those things. And I want that same thing for you. And I want you to be around for a long time, which is a lot of why I harp on the exercise. I don't nag you anymore, but those are things I wish for you.
Yeah. And so what I heard you say before, and you said it a little differently this time, was that you want me to do those things because you feel like I will be a better me faster if I had those types of habits and rituals in my life as opposed to not having them in there.
Correct. But I don't love you any less because you
Right.
don't do those.
I
And
know. But hang on, we're
and I
illustrating an example
okay.
here, and now you're
Okay,
trying to
sorry.
like
Sorry, I'm already trying to fix it.
yeah. So the example is that, and this is, this is probably a whole nother podcast we'll have to do on defensiveness, but my I think the message that you convey, or can convey when you start nagging people along those lines, is that they're not good enough where they are, and that they need to do these things so they can be better.
So
And
it's
so you're
it's like saying you need to change so that I will love you.
right. And I think the
Even though
point,
you may or may not be trying to say that.
right. So, and I felt that way when you started talking to me. You're like, well, if you do these things, then I know that you'll be, and you don't know that. It's what happens for you.
Correct.
And it's not always what's going to happen for the other person, or it might happen for the other person, but they kind of have to come to that on their own, right?
Not kind of. They do have to come to that on their own.
Oh, well, the kind of part came in there because if we understand that they have to come there on their own, then why do we keep nagging each other about the shit that we should be doing?
That's a really good question.
Okay. That being said, I think the point of this whole podcast is that some of the happiest couples we know are people who couldn't be further apart when it comes to things that they do that light them up, things that they do for just, for themselves, basically. When it comes to taking care of yourself and doing what makes you happy, they're on almost two completely different planets, but that doesn't matter either one of them. Tell me about that McKernan thing we were talking about. Philip McKernan, we're big fans. If you don't know him, look him up and find out more information. That's as shameless of a plug as I'll give him right now. But
yeah, he's like a life coach and a philosopher. He's a good guy. Yeah, one of the things that he said recently in a conference that I was in attendance, he said, and again, this is like men and women, but I'm not sure if it's really applicable just to those sexes. It may apply in other ways, but I'd like to have that conversation. Actually,
it's a generalization, and we can use it for this example.
All right. So he said, what men really want in relationships is for their partner to believe in them, to unconditionally believe in them. And what women want in their partnerships is for their partner to love them just as they are, to accept and love them unconditionally just as they are.
Yep.
He didn't say it exactly like that, but that was my take on it.
So in the example and it's funny that it comes back around to, I wanted to do this podcast because of a lot of men I know are trying to shoehorn their wives into, their idea of what self-help should look like, or their idea of what personal growth should look like. And when their wives are resistant to that, or they don't like buy in, then a lot of these guys view their wives as not wanting to grow at the same pace that they do. And it's unhealthy for the relationship because it's super negative for starters. But
what's super negative?
Well, you're putting that kind of negative energy out there. You're frustrated with your significant other because they're not climbing into the box that you think they should be in.
Because they're not doing what you want them to do.
Right. Even though what you want them to do is coming from your heart, as a place where you just know that if they did it, gosh, they would just be so much happier. If they would come to Tony Robbins with me, they would be able to come home charged and see as excited as I am. And
yeah, and to your point, you don't know. Maybe they'd come home pissed off. Maybe they'd come home frustrated. Maybe they'd come home depressed.
Yeah, doubtful, but the fact that they don't want to go at all should be fine, Anyway, so
I think one of the great lessons of relationships, in our relationship anyway, has been learning to accept you just how you are and not trying to change you.
I agree. That's huge, actually. And in fact, we spent some time real recently talking with Susie Pawlowski, co-author of Happy Together, and we spent a good solid 5 minutes talking about exactly that, where we accept each other for the good in each other, and we look for that good in each other as opposed to
focusing on the negative things.
right. And
Yeah.
the negative things being in topic of this conversation, you're not growing at the same pace I am, and that's judgy. So you really can't judge somebody else on their personal growth. It's called personal growth.
And it's called personal growth. And when you recognize that you can't actually change anyone anyway, no matter how hard you try, other than yourself, then that reality becomes a little easier, I think, to not nag. Recognizing, well, no matter nagging just makes me irritable as the nagger, you angry,
Angry or defensive,
defensive,
definitely.
and it doesn't get us any. There's no progress towards what we want for each other.
That's true.
None.
So
It just
focusing on the
creates
good,
bad juju.
letting each other be each other, and accepting each other for the paces that we're on is huge in our relationship. In that it shit.
Well, let's go to Buddha. Buddha says
Thank you, Buddha.
that we're all trying to, again, I'm paraphrasing, that we're all trying to climb the mountain. And it doesn't matter which path you take up the mountain,
Or how fast you're
or
going.
how fast you're going, or your pace. We're all on our own journeys, and honoring the journey of your partner, however that's unfolding. That's part of loving someone. That's part of being a partner, a good partner.
Actually, I think it's very apropos to quote, right on the heels of Buddha, Sir Richard Branson. I read an article real recently. He's been married over 40 years, and
which is amazing.
It is, really, because the guy always kind of comes across as like an international playboy type guy, but I think that's just kind of his look more so than his actual.
That's his public persona.
Maybe not, I don't know. But the thing that impressed me a lot about what he wrote is that one of his greatest achievements was the fact that he had been in the same relationship for 40 years, and that he never would have been able to achieve what he had achieved in his life without having the support of his spouse. And their relationship is super healthy from that respect, where they just let each other be each other and support each other the whole way. And
I wonder what she would say.
I don't know. We got to get him on our podcast. So anybody listening who has a degree of separation or two closer than we do, which is, I don't know. Does Kevin Bacon know him?
Probably.
We're one away from there then, wherever the degrees of Kevin Bacon are. Anyway, back to just the tip.
Just the tip.
Which is what we want to wrap up with.
So how would you paraphrase just the tip on this episode?
I said it first, so you have to give me just your tip, and then I'm going to give you just my tip. Mine's awesome.
Then why don't you go first?
Okay.
I like to see what you say, and then I'm gonna try to one up you. Go.
It's the reason this is called the Not So Perfect Couple podcast is because this is something
perfect.
Yeah, this is something we work on all the time ourselves. So we have not mastered this, but we do recognize it as something that will help our relationship get better. And that is that we need to let each other be each other, and that we need to let each other grow at our own pace and not judge each other for it.
And I would say love and acceptance of your partner for who they are right now.
Perfect.
And don't nag.
Don't nag.
Don't nag. It just never works out well.
Because nag, if you break it down, spelled backwards is gan. And gan is not even a word. So why bother?
Good one, honey.
All right. I think
is that a wrap?
That was succinct.
All right.
And I'm not wearing pants. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you for watching or listening.